Gwen Ifill has been in New Hampshire for us for the last 6 days, taking the pulse of voters who aren't affiliated with either party and who could make the difference tomorrow.
Melinda and Don Byrne of Bedford have a lot of thinking left to do.
Well, for me, it's really been a process of elimination.
I had to decide who I wanted to vote against in an effort to come down with a small pool of people that I could then think that I could support.
The Byrnes, she a college professor, he a business owner, say they are a divided but undecided household. As independent voters, neither Democrat nor Republican. He liked former Ambassador Jon Huntsman's overseas experience. They threw him a party at their home and planted signs on their lawn. She liked Mitt Romney's personality and family background. But after they heard Romney engage in what they considered China bashing at this rally last week, they changed their minds. By the end of the week, they were checking out Texas Congressman Ron Paul with his uncompromising message of small government. And Newt Gingrich, too.
We'll be returning them, I guess, to the campaign.
The Romney signs ended up in their trunk.
We still have our 2 Jon Huntsman signs up.
In New Hampshire, such swing voters register as undeclared.
It comes down to I've got one vote. Do I vote strategically for the person who I think could beat the president? Do I vote tactically for the person who I think represents my views?
The only person on the stage as well to have lived overseas.
Melinda is now thinking about voting for Paul or Huntsman. Don is torn between Huntsman and Gingrich. They watched a pair of weekend candidate debates hoping to decide. The Byrnes are part of the New Hampshire 41% unaffiliated voters who have a knack for deciding late. John McCain won them in 2000 and 2008, and this time 3 candidates are competing for their attention: Huntsman, Paul, and Romney. New Hampshire Republicans are less conservative than their counterparts in either Iowa, which preceded them in voting, or South Carolina, which holds its primary in 2 weeks.
Largely because
Andrew Smith is a political science professor and director of polling at the University of New Hampshire. Undeclared voters, he said, do not easily fit into a political box.
And you have to think of them as 3 different groups. There are undeclareds who are really Democrats, and they vote and behave very much like registered Democrats. Undeclareds who are really Republicans vote and behave very much like registered Republicans. And then there are those people in the middle that are kind of not partisan, not as political. They're the ones who are kind of wild cards.
This president has failed on almost every dimension.
Romney, who was governor of neighboring Massachusetts and leads in the final pre-election polls, pitched part of his appeal to those middle ground voters during yesterday's debate.
We can work together. Republicans and Democrats are able to go across the aisle because we really do have areas of common interest.
But he was challenged by his competitors on the stage when he claimed not to be a career politician.
Can we drop a little bit of the pious baloney? The fact is, you ran in '94 and lost. We want someone when the time gets tough, and it will in this election. We want someone who's going to stand up and fight for the conservative principles, not bail out and not run to the left of Ted Kennedy.
I don't see how we can have anybody really compete with Obama who doesn't challenge this huge empire we have overseas and the overseas spending. I mean, this is how nations come down.
As I look from here down to Rick Santorum, I see insiders, individuals who have been the big spending Republicans in Washington, D.C.
The American people are tired of the partisan division. They have had enough. There is no trust left among the American people in the institutions of power and among the American people in our elected officials.
New Hampshire voters who tell pollsters they are weary of Washington and of insincerity appear to be listening for those themes. Jenny Cruzel, a retiree, likes Gingrich's promise to shrink government, but worries that he can't be elected. So after Rick Santorum did well in Iowa, she came to see him and was impressed by his social conservatism. Is it unusual for you to take this long to make up your mind?
No, but the last election, I really wasn't sure. The last election, I was a registered Democrat, and I switched. New Hampshire, they don't like to be predictable, and when the press comes out predicting it, they're going to go the other way.
And Renee Paradis said she's trying to choose among Santorum, Romney, and Gingrich.
I want somebody to tell us things are in a mess, and we have to fix them, and that means it's going to hurt. And I would rather, him say, all right, like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, they're huge issues and they need to be tackled.
Newt Gingrich is saying that too, and so is Mitt Romney.
So how to decide among the three? I think, and this is why I want to see them all in person, Rick Santorum strikes me as a genuine good guy. Mitt Romney strikes me as a good man. Newt Gingrich strikes me as he's maybe a little on the edge. Everybody I know is undecided.
Jim and Jane Green started their weekend at a Romney rally.
I like Mitt. I've always liked Mitt, but I like Newt Gingrich too. I want a conservative leader that sees the American values with less government but a strong military.
Because we are given such a privilege of being the first primary that most of the people really understand that it's important. Their single vote is important, and really pay attention to what's going on.
Because that is the way.
But registered Republicans still determine the winner. So appealing only to the truly undeclared and undecided has its risks. Among them, they don't always vote. Registered Republicans do. The University of New Hampshire's Andrew Smith predicts 2/3 of them will cast votes on Tuesday.
We have really high turnout, and that means that it's not the activists who determine who wins in New Hampshire like is the case in Iowa. It's regular voters who don't pay that much attention to politics.
And those regular voters, according to the latest polls, may have already settled on Tuesday's winner.
There's been a perception among both voters in New Hampshire as well as the other campaigns that Mitt Romney has this thing nailed down. And I think a lot of the campaigns have conceded New Hampshire to Romney, and they've taken the scant resources they've got and invested them in states like Iowa or South Carolina, where they've got a better chance of reaching a more socially conservative electorate.
Earn my vote.
That electorate will ultimately decide which candidates live to fight another day.
With more on the candidates' closing arguments and which contest they look to next, Gwen joins us now from New Hampshire. So, Gwen, you've not only been out there with the voters, you're following the candidates. How does it look on the ground?
Well, it looks pretty down and dirty at this point. Today, we had all of the candidates deciding they're going to jump right on Mitt Romney because, of course, he's the one who looks like he's going to pull this out tomorrow night if the polls hold. The interesting thing is, voters are not made up their minds, as we saw in that piece, but on the last days of these campaigns, as you know, Judy, the people who show up at these rallies they all have are still curious. They still have more questions to ask. They may have decided already. They may like the guy or hate the guy, but they still want to know things. Meanwhile, the candidates are accusing each other. I think Rick Perry in South Carolina now has a ringtone making fun of Mitt Romney for saying that he would fire people. All the Republicans are attacking Mitt Romney from the left. All the Democrats are attacking Mitt Romney from the left. It's kind of a raucous final day.
So is the comment, Romney's comment that he likes to fire people, is that getting as much attention as it sounds like here? And how is he handling it? We heard him say, well, that happens and the Obama people are going to jump on it. But in fact, it's his own Republican competitors who are.
Well, I was at he had a little press conference today after an event, and I was there, and he was asked about this very thing, and his answer was, you know what, I'm a big boy, I can take it if people jump on me. But his larger point was that his comments were taken out of context. And when he said he'd like to fire people, he was liking that to people having the choice to switch insurance companies. That was the question he was responding to. But context sometimes doesn't count, especially in the last 24 hours of a campaign.
And Gwen, as we said, he is still far ahead in the polls. He's expected to win in New Hampshire. A lot of this contest there seems to be coming down to second place and third place. So my question is, how much of what the candidates are saying is really intended to pitch forward to South Carolina and beyond?
You got it. Everyone is trying to pitch forward, except it's really kind of interesting because, as you know, as we talked about, this is a very independent state in lots of ways. And so you hear in the last day, Newt Gingrich, while still accusing Mitt Romney of being a Massachusetts moderate, also saying, I would govern with Democrats in the Reagan model, and speaking to independents. And you hear a lot of the other candidates doing the same thing. At the same time, saying, I'm going to have a much warmer place to land. This is the Georgia former congressman in Newt Gingrich in South Carolina. Mitt Romney bringing with him to New Hampshire this week the governor of South Carolina to campaign here with him as well as there. And other candidates, and of course Rick Perry's already on the ground there. Jon Huntsman's do or die here in New Hampshire. So they're all looking forward, but really not much past tomorrow night.
Gwen Ifill in front of a very sparkling New Hampshire background. Thank you, and we will see a lot of you tomorrow night.
See you then, Judy.